Hey guys, it's Marcel Horn. I'm the owner of HPA Motorsports. We've been tuning Volkswagen Audis for over 30 years. And 10 years ago, we gave birth to a division called Coty Built. What started out as just a hobby, a fun weekend adventure for myself and my boys, slowly turned into a marquee brand for TDI swaps with YJ, XJ, and TJ owners. For the last 10 years, we've been building with the 1.9 pump Deuce. And today I want to introduce you something of a little bit of a different flavor. We have this pristine little CJ. It's a local customer. He's been tuning his Volkswagen Audis with us, and he had this little guy since he was a young man sitting in the back of his garage. It had the original Chrysler motor in it, and we said, hey, we want to do something a little bit different. Under the hood is a 2012 CJA 2-liter Common Rail TDI. And what's neat about that is that's the latest standard before Volkswagen pulled out of the diesel game. Parts are easily accessible, engines are plentiful. The power and the torque and the tuning capability of this motor has no ceiling. Why don't we take this thing for a drive? All right. Let's go over it. Now, you know, a lot of guys, you'll try to explain to them from the Jeep world that it feels like a GTI, and I reckon that's like telling a farmer his tractor's as smooth as a Learjet. Not too much of a correlation. I gotta think of what will give you that sporty sense of acceleration that this car has that would relate to the typical Jeep enthusiast. I've been Jeeping now for almost 2 decades, and what always struck me as problematic was that you get in the Jeep, you'd have your 35s or your 37s, you jump out into Main Street to accelerate, and I swear my mountain bike had better acceleration. The torque was missing. And you know, there have been opportunities to put superchargers. Back in the day, the XJ guys, they had turbo kits. But all of that comes with a heavy penalty on the fuel pump. And, again, horsepower is good at about 75 mile an hour where you're trying to push these bricks through the wind, but it just doesn't give you that thrust off the line, or when you're wheeling, that ability to climb. TDI pulls to 4,000 RPM, which is nicely geared. A lot better than the VW, which had a 3,000 RPM target. I find this really quite nice on the highway going up the bridges. Of course, I drive it like a sports car, which I know probably doesn't have the brakes to keep up to me. What's nice about these TDIs is their mannerisms. You're not driving a big cammed up carbureted V8, so you've got this real sophisticated injection module controlled with an ECM that's designed for urban travel, even though we're jacked up and running big gnarly tires, and you know, it should be noisy and barbaric, but it's not. The gearbox, again, being an AX15 out of a TJ, AX15 flywheel clutch, and it just behaves like it should. A lot of people ask, why TDI? Number one is it's OBD2 compliant. That means that every TDI has an OBD2 plug for emissions testing, service work, diagnostic troubleshooting. Number two is they're super small, super compact, and super light. You're about 50 pounds lighter than the 4-cylinder that Chrysler used to use, lighter than the inline 6s or the V6s. And the torque and horsepower that they deliver against the fuel that they burn is unmatched. I don't have numbers on this CJ here, but our similar equipped tire size and drivetrain on a YJ or TJ, we're getting between 25 and 30 miles to the gallon, while you have the torque of a sports car. There's really nothing in front of me, even at 80k an hour, short of 50 miles an hour that I can't just drop a gear and pass with a turbocharger. Crawling off road, you have to appreciate naturally aspirated gas motors make a lot of horsepower, and it's linear. It's high in the RPM. If you're crawling an obstacle, you have to rev the tires, use a lot of tire, or rev the engine and use a lot of tire power to get over it. The TDI is more like a goat. Its heavy flywheel at idle with low RPM and low lift will climb every obstacle. It almost climbs them like a hybrid. Drive these TDI swap vehicles, you hit this little bit of a comfort zone where you think of simpler times, the way things were back in the 80s. You have this confidence and this performance and this refinement under your foot pedal on demand that just makes you smile, that if only they knew, if only this was really how it came from the factory back then. These diesels are just stunning. Because 4BT Cummins weighs about 800 pounds, and these things come in around 350. You don't get that weight imbalance. You don't have a heavy front end on the braking or articulating off camber corners. Oh, that should be our friend. First guys at the shop would hate me because they have to detail before we hand it off. Where's up here on the left, right? Yeah. Why don't we just take a look right under the hood here quick. So being the 2-liter Common Rail, what we talked about in the drive, this is our intake manifold where the intercooler is integrated and shares the water system with the radiator. It keeps the plumbing and the packaging, the engine bay very tidy. Our team made this nice little intake with a little splash shield on the bottom, feeds the turbo into the intake manifold. The intake has the intercooler. System is done. On this side, we got our battery tray box. Mounts our battery, holds our big brain box. This CNC box holds our ECU, our glow plugs, all of our fuses and relays that drive this little engine. Everything flywheel back is Jeep. Everything on the front is Jeep. The only thing that's Volkswagen is the long block, the gas pedal, and the alternator. Now, we hope to bring this into a couple of different packages into the website. And if you look for more information, please go to tdijeep.com. We look to do a complete package, engine done, intake, everything installed in a crate out the door. And we also want to do a builder's package for all those guys that are building their own rock buggy and have great mad fabricating skills, where maybe the transmission adapter, the motor mounts, and the turbo downpipes all they need, and the rest they can handle on their own. Either way, it should be another exciting chapter seeing these Common Rail motors become easy, accessible. You can find them everywhere, and I hope to find them under many, many more hits to come.